walk me through what we should be looking for out of Chris Sale tonight to know that he's okay in Game 1 against the Yankees.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never been in a situation quite like what Chris Sale is dealing with as far as the down the stretch and the lack of innings. We all know how nasty he is. We know how he can dominate a game. And unfairly, for a team that won 108 games, there's no advantage that they have. I've always said this. I'll continue to say this. When you win 108 games, you're the best team in baseball, and you only have to play the team that had to play one game coming in the Yankees, or in this case, the Yankees, or could have been the A's. I just think the sentiment's going to be Chris Sale's going to have to be really, really good. And that's going to swift the teeter-totter back to the Boston Red Sox. A lot of people feel, and rightfully so, the Yankees have won 100 games. They're healthy. Their lineup is chugging. And you're talking about Chris Sale, David Price, Porcello, or even Rodriguez, three left-handers that they may have to face. And everybody talks about the Boston bullpen. Well, the Boston bullpen's not even going to come into play if those starters keep doing what they're supposed to be doing or have done. So a lot of pressure on Chris Sale, a lot of eyes going to be on the radar gun. I'm not so consumed with that as much as can he have his touch pitches and command, and more importantly, will he be able to bounce back, from the rest of the time he's had from the DL to the adrenaline rush of the postseason against your arch rivals. So it's going to be a phenomenal series, but a lot of eyes are going to be on Chris Sale for sure.
Yeah, what do you think's going on between the temples of Red Sox and Yankees right now on the day of their first playoff series in 14 years, first between these two long rivals? And it's a bunch of young kids here, okay? So it's not like that they go way back 15, 20 years to even the 2004 series, the last time these two teams faced each other. But it's the first time these franchises come in with triple digits of regular season wins. It's really amazing. I'm wondering what you think's going on between the temples there, John.
Yeah, it's interesting. In the regular season, been around both teams, and the Yankees at times, they had their stretch that were dominant, and then they really didn't have a healthy lineup for the longest time. And no player will ever say this, but during the regular season, you tip your hat, they were a better team, meaning the Red Sox. They were. But then once you see the momentum coming back from the Yankees getting healthy, getting Judge back, getting some of their parts back, and making the moves they did, you could see why this was must-see TV coming forward and the clash that everyone wanted to see. And, the Red Sox are as confident, and rightfully so, offensively. They're as good as it gets. It's top-heavy. Their offense relies on their first five guys, no doubt. Their defense is fantastic, and their starting pitching is fantastic, whereas the Yankees have such a long lineup, and it has so much stress to put on the starting pitcher, and for that matter, anyone who has to go through that lineup. That's where they get you. They fatigue you to death, and then they run into some home runs. So I really believe, I know this is going to sound crazy, but, the game has changed in so many different ways that we're watching more home runs, walks, and strikeouts. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be the team that can put the ball in play at the most opportunistic times, because there's a lot of strikeouts in the Yankees lineup. And if they're young players, which, by the way, Andujar and Torres are two of their better hitters, and they're rookies, that if the Red Sox and Yankees, ultimately this thing could be swung on who puts the ball in play more than the other team. And I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about, Smoltz? This isn't the 1920s. But this is what we have, and playoff baseball is usually won that way. You look at the Astros and what they did. You look at even what the Chicago Cubs were able to do, the Kansas City Royals. The teams that usually get to the end are the ones that fundamentally play the game at the time they need it the best.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.